Hi, my name is Brad Young, and welcome to the Peak Performance Podcast. Today we are doing episode 10. I'm so glad to get 10 episodes under my belt. The role of elite coaching and mentoring. So as we look at, peak performance, you got to look at, elite coaching and mentoring because it makes the biggest amount of difference than you would ever imagine. When you hire the right coaches, you hire the right mentors, they help push you beyond where you may be able to push your own self. And I've got to invest more in these coaches because I've got to get to, further and push myself further, but I can only push so hard, and so everybody's got to evaluate yourself. That's why we have Peak Performance Podcast here. I have a self-evaluation. Every episode's got something where you can evaluate yourself and what you're utilizing, what techniques, what things you're using. Do a self-assessment to be able to get some practical application out of it. So when we think about elite coaching, and mentoring, it can be a game changer. When you're in a journey towards personal and professional success, you need that guidance. You got to have the right guidance and a tailored approach where you can uncover your untapped potential. You can break through your barriers and build skills that you need to crush your goals. Imagine having someone in your corner, an experienced mentor who shares these lessons, helps you avoid mistakes, and accelerates your path to success. And the reason I highlight this so much is because sometimes we go to people that don't have the same problems. They haven't been down the same roads. They don't really understand where we're at. They don't understand this road. And so you got to find somebody that will, and that does have it. And you just got to, at the end of the day, you got to pay them for it. I offer a lot of free things, but at the end of the day, I make money off of podcast listens. And so you wouldn't be listening if I didn't provide value every day. If I didn't provide, something that's going to help you get, to your next level, but then you hire coaches, you can always hire me for certain things as well. But, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We're to help to make everybody better. And sometimes you got people that are stronger in different areas. One of the guys that, in my opinion, the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan, he worked closely with his personal coach, Tim Grover, and helped, make him hone his physical and mental game. Tim Grover pushed him. He's got a great book out. I really love the book. And Tim really, he really has a great book. And, Michael Jordan was his, premier client. He also worked with Kobe and other people. But, Michael Jordan knew he needed to pay somebody to help him continue to grow. And so you have to unlock this. You got to pay somebody sometimes. You got to invest in yourself, but you got to invest in people to help you. Serena Williams, she had consistent guidance from elite coaches, including her father. But then she had, renowned tennis coach as well, Oprah Winfrey. She contributes a lot of her success to mentorship and coaching, often speaking about the influence of her mentor, Maya Angelou. Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers of all time, if not the greatest. He worked with several coaches during his career to help him elevate his game. Bill Gates, he had, highlighted the role of valuable mentors such as Warren Buffett. So I don't think you're going to get much better of a business mentor than Warren Buffett. So, that's, unbelievable. Sheryl Sandberg, the chief operating officer of what used to be Facebook, now is Meta. She credits her success to mentorship of various leaders, including former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who helped her develop critical leadership abilities. And so, so all these people have utilized, elite coaching to get to the next level. So why don't we invest in it? That's the thing about it. You got to invest in it, but you got to identify it. So that's what the Peak Performance Podcast is about. It's about identifying places to where, we can grow and get better. So, when we look at the benefits of coaching and mentoring, number one, accelerated growth. We can gain actionable insights and strategy that can fast track our progress. I've got to do this for the speaking side of it. I've got to be able to get things booked. I can make all the content. I can write all these things in the world, but I got to get booked to do more. And so I need this accelerated growth. Got to invest in it. Enhance skills. We got to develop hard and soft skills that are personalized to help, you know, that help. We need advice. We need constructive feedback because these are benefits that a coach will give you that other people may not. Overcoming challenges. Being able to tackle obstacles, having that coach help you make smarter decisions and avoid common pitfalls because there's all kinds of pitfalls and we don't know what we don't know sometimes. Stronger confidence. You can boost your self-esteem by building your strength by achieving consistent milestones. Access to a network. I mean, you can tap into your mentor or coach's network. I mean, this opens all kinds of doors. And so, I mean, these experts can help fast track your progress. I mean, they help you clarify goals. So again, I mean, this is going to be something that's going to be in the attachment. I mean, you got to clarify your goals, figure out what they are. We've went through them, but again, we got to continue to redefine and clarify what our real goals are in peak performance. Elite coaching can provide a proven roadmap. This is from experience that has insights that's structured, time tested, that can minimize your trial and error because that's what costs us so much. It is time wasted, in the wrong space. It's like even with relationships, you look like, wow, I wasted 2 months on this. You don't want to do that. You need to have a proven roadmap, but you've got to make sure you're going to the right people because everybody doesn't know. People that maybe even care about you the most still don't know what's best for you. Get a coach, get a mentor, because they can enhance that efficiency. You got to be able to get more things done in less time. They can identify your blind spots to help you uncover weaknesses or areas that you need to improve, and you got to recognize. You may not see these on your own. They can help you sustain motivation and turn it into drive because, having that person, having that accountability person is key. When you look at, proven strategies used by elite coaches in fitness, nutrition, and performance, I mean, when we look at them, I mean, tracking your progress with a journal is something that do every day. You got to track. You got to track all these things. Make sure you're keeping up with your diet habits, your progress, your workouts. Identify problems when you have other issues. Strength training, track your weight lifted, etc. And look at all these things. Implementing periodization in training. Break your training cycles into specific periods that focus on different goals such as endurance, strength, or recovery. For instance, you can allocate 4 weeks to building strength with heavier weights and lower reps, followed by a cycle emphasizing higher reps for more muscular endurance. This is periodization. You take periods and you work on different things to keep your body guessing, to make sure you're continually improving and growing. You can use SMART goals. They are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, which is that's an old ad. It's an old goal setting system, but I mean, there's so many different ones out there. That's an easy one. I mean, if you want to complete a 10K within 8 weeks, followed by a progressive plan that increases weekly mileage gradually, so you want to follow up 8-week plan to be able to progressively grow that mileage to be able to run that 10K. Practice mindset techniques. This is another one. I mean, because visualization and mindfulness, I talk about it in a lot of episodes, but the mental side of it's huge in all these things. You got to have our confidence. It's easy to lose that confidence. Confidence, you work so hard to gain, but you can sure lose it easily as well. Prioritizing recovery. I mean, these elite coaches are going to make sure that you recover, get proper sleep, hydration, stretching routines. One of the things that Tim Grover talks about in his book is, talks about people when he has them, they want to cut weight, and he has them to cut out sugar. And essentially, he knows if they don't have a pain behind their eye, their head's not hurting, he knows that they're not fully cutting sugar out like he's asked them to do, because sugar addiction is a real thing, and we're going to look at that in one of the next podcasts about sugar addiction and how it affects your body and how we can work on implementing ways around that to implement peak performance, because it is a true addiction. So you got to remember those things. I mean, you got to think about all these things as we continue to grow. I mean, because when we prioritize sleep, hydration, stretching, recovery, making sure that you implement those things. I mean, it's just something that's got to happen. That's what a coach will do. It'll make sure you do it, because sometimes we don't want to do it ourselves. We want to keep going. And then as you look and you're finding that ideal coach or mentor, you got to choose the right one. They can be a game changer because they need to align with your vision and purpose. You got to ask yourself, what are your personal goals? What values drive you? And the answers will help you find the right person. Instead of going out magic world of the internet and asking who the best trainer is around, you need to find out who's going to align with your goals and vision. Don't be just comfortable with someone because they're the same sex or whatever. I mean, I've seen that a lot of times, and that's not the answer. You got to find somebody that's going to look at your goals, your vision and purpose, and see what drives you. What's going to inspire you to do better. That's who you need. That's the right one. And so another aspect of hiring the right and finding the right coach and mentor is discovering why accountability is the key to staying on track. Because accountability gives you proper clarity and direction. Mentors and coaches provide clear goals and actionable steps. They do this every single day of their life. And so you got to remember that. They offer valuable feedback. They give you constructive feedback. They highlight strengths and pinpoint areas you can improve on. And we all need that, because you want to continue to grow. If you don't get that, you're not growing. You're just, you got to get that feedback. They keep you accountable. They check in. It's like some of the bodybuilding people I know, they all have a coach. They have to send them a picture every day. They have to pose and send a picture. They got to, record the diet. And they have to listen to everything that they're saying, because that coach keeps them accountable. So those bodybuilding coaches, they do a great job, because these guys are getting ready for competitions, and gals. I mean, these people are getting ready for competitions. And so they got to have somebody help them keep them accountable, because it's so easy to get weak, because especially with sugar addiction and things like that people don't realize they even have, food addiction, all those things. But they can also share personal insights and experiences that will help you emotionally understand, where you need to be at. When somebody talks from experience, you listen more, versus somebody that doesn't have that. And they also help you boost your confidence and motivation. They help you, encourage you to celebrate different victories and keep moving forward. But, you can also utilize them to smash these mental barriers. You can ignite that growth mindset, because, with the feedback, with the real life experiences, the accountability, the customized strategies, and they encourage lifelong learning. They encourage you to continue to grow. This is what you need. This, you got this. So, I mean, you got to remember, communication is the key. And if you're wanting to level up, you got to take some action. You got to look at, elite coaching and mentoring and look at it as a positive thing. Now, people look at it as a cost, but you got to see the value in it. There's a huge value there, but people just miss it every single day of their lives. They don't see that. They don't see that true value of having that elite coach and mentor. They want to go with who's the cheapest. I've seen that too on some groups. They say, I need a trainer, but can't afford this or that. Well, I mean, you get what you pay for. I mean, that's the bottom line when it comes to these type of relationships. But anyway, this has been the Peak Performance Podcast. There will be a link attached to the description of the podcast. It's going to go over the concepts that we went over today. I'm going to give you some options to fill out and understand how having this coaching help can make a difference in you in all aspects of your life. And then and look at all the great people that utilize coaching. I mean, it's not just for the rich and famous. It's for everybody, if you will take advantage of it, and invest in yourself and invest in others. But thanks. This has been the Peak Performance Podcast. I'm Brad Young. Thanks. Have a great day.